We got lost in a forest, and it was one of the strangest experiences of my life. The following is a story that took place quite a few years back now. However, it still baffles me completely, and I'd like to share it here. I'm a teenager, and I've been in scouting Boy Scouts for nearly all my life, and I really enjoy exploring with my friends and being trusted more, as I'm older now. A few years ago, me and two girls named Amy and Harriet were asked to head into the woods surrounding our campsite to find a long, straight stick, suitable for carving into a point. Bear in mind that I was a lot younger back then. Harriet was older, and Amy only 1 year older than myself. We had been walking in deliberately the same direction as to not get lost, and memorizing the surroundings as we went, in order to find our way back easily. About 15 minutes in, we couldn't find anything to take back, so we turned around to return to the campsite. That's the initial panic set it. The trees had almost unnaturally knitted themselves together in such a way that it seemed our path was non-existent in the first place, like it had just vanished. We looked around 360 degrees, and now everything looked exactly the same. Trees we could have sworn were different from one another appeared as all copies of the same tree. We kept walking in what we thought to be the correct direction, whilst shouting out for help, and eventually came to a concrete path, almost like a road, but very thin, separating the forest, splitting it into two. We didn't follow the road as it went in the wrong direction to our campsite. On the other side of the path was more forest. However, nearby was an abandoned shack, likely used for storage or whatever else. We had no idea anything like this was out here in these woods, so we just kept walking. We eventually came to a road we didn't recognize. A woman wearing a pink and purple regatta outdoors coat walked past, and we frantically asked her for the direction of our campsite, as by now, according to our watches and Harriet's phone, we'd been walking for an hour and a half. She said she'd never seen us before, but she said there's another campsite in that direction. We followed her advice and eventually came back to our campsite. We frantically apologized for being so long and that we couldn't find anything. The leader, Ian, could see all three of us were shaken up, and he stated confused that we'd only been gone 25 minutes and that our free time was still going on. To this day, this baffles all three of us, as our free time was 40 minutes long, and our watches and phones had said we'd been gone for hours. The forest we were lost in felt crushing and claustrophobic, like we'd entered an area that the concept of time didn't apply to. I believe in the paranormal. However, this was so unlike anything I've heard or experienced before. It literally was like we'd been in a time vortex or something, and that hours in the forest were only minutes in the rest of the world. The feeling was very strange, and it stuck with me for the rest of the camp. Thanks for reading my story. It's a weird one, but it's true. If you would like to hear more stories from my weird life so far, then feel free to upvote and comment.
Man stalking my sister in the woods. Me and my friends enjoy making mountain bike trails in the woods on a mountain near our houses. One day they couldn't go outside, so I brought my younger sister with me. I was also going to bring my little brother, who was going to be a little bit late since he was at a friend's house. This day was a little bit rainy and was cold. Nobody would be hiking the trails this day. They had never seen what me and my friends had been working on the past couple months, so that day was the day to show them. Basically, you walk straight a trail, and when it turns 90 degrees, you go to the right off the trail, then around a bend, and there's an overgrown, abandoned forest road. At the end of this forest road, we had a small trail that led to the bottom of our MTB trail. Me and my sister waited for my little brother, but then my mom called me, telling me that my brother didn't know where to go, so I told my sister to go all the way back to wait for him outside the trail in the neighborhood. She never saw him since he decided he didn't know where to go, despite the clear instructions. Since my mom then called me once more telling me he was back at home. Then I called my sister to tell her to come back up the trail, telling her very clearly, make sure nobody is following you. This wasn't for our safety, but so nobody would discover these trails me and my friends were building. But this time, it was different. As my sister was walking up the trail, I could look from the side all the way across the forest road where she was on her way up. Then I thought to myself, was she wearing a white jacket before? Then I realized, as the figure got more towards the clearing, this was not my little sister. This was a grown man. Nobody would ever find this trail, and if they did, they would have no reason to come up here. Plus, the rain the past couple of days made most of the trail muddy. Extremely muddy. I stared running down the trail, and then behind a tree so I could call my sister to tell her to not go up the trail. Then I heard, "What are you doing?" It was my little sister. She had already made it all the way up and back to the trail. Then I knew what happened. This man followed my sister up the trail. I was terrified, and I could tell my sister started to pick it up that I was serious. We waited around 10 minutes, but we couldn't see the person anymore. There was no way to go but up the trail towards us, unless this person hid in the trees off the forest road. As we made our way back quickly and quietly, I felt the sense that I was being watched. We made it to our bikes, which were thankfully still there. I told my sister to pick up her bike so we could walk through the rest of the trail without the noise of our hub clicking. This way we could hear everything going on around us. Then I saw towards the entrance of the trail where it is much easier to see footprints. There was one set of large boot prints on top of my sister's small footprints, meaning they were more recent. That confirmed I was 100% not going insane. We started riding bike to the neighborhood, where I made sure we weren't being followed. Luckily, we made it back home. We told our parents, who were glad I was out there as well. All I could think was, what if I wasn't there? What would have happened to my sister?
My house was haunted. So this happened when I was a kid, and my family and I lived in North Carolina. Our house was surrounded by woods, and there was only a few neighbors around us. Every once in a while during the night at around midnight, I would lay in bed because I couldn't sleep. I felt a creepy vibe, like something or someone was watching me. Sometimes I would hear footsteps coming from the attic above my bedroom. It sounded like someone was walking around. I went outside my bedroom into the hallway, and everyone in my family was sleeping and their doors were closed. So I went back to my bedroom and closed my door. I was laying in my bed again, and I heard the footsteps in the attic. Then I heard something fall in my closet. I was so scared that I ran into my parents' bedroom and woke them up. They were confused at first, but then I explained to them what I heard. My mom and dad said it was probably just my imagination, and they didn't believe me. They walked with me back to my bedroom and looked around my bedroom, and then they went inside my closet. There was a board game that had spilled all over the closet floor. It was at the back of the shelf at the top of my closet, so there was no way it could have fallen without someone pushing it off. My parents helped me clean it up and put it back on the shelf. They said that there was nothing to be scared of, and then they put me back to bed. They went back to bed too, and a few minutes after they left, I heard someone whispering something. It sounded like they were calling my name. Then I saw a shadow that looked like a person walking across the wall by my closet. I thought it was a ghost, and I started freaking out again, and I grabbed my pillow and blanket and went to sleep on my parents' bedroom floor. After that, I slept on their floor for a few more nights. Eventually, I went back to sleeping in my bedroom, and when I would lay in bed again at around midnight, I still heard the footsteps in the attic, and that continued every once in a while until we eventually moved away. To this day, I still don't know what or who that was, but it still freaks me out.